They called him the Observer, but only in jest. A meaningless title for a meaningless presence. He never interrupted, never advised. And when the councils gathered on the star-forged platforms of the Vrothak Dominion, Adrian Rourke simply sat in silence, eyes tracing the holographic maps with mechanical precision. Around him, towering warlords of the Zorak, the crystalline minds of the Thela, and the gold-veined admiralty of the Vrothak issued commands and roared predictions with galactic bravado. They dismissed him with polite nods, more out of courtesy than respect. Humans had joined the coalition a decade ago, and already they were background noise. Emotional, clumsy, overly attached to obsolete ethics. Earth's technology was average, their fleets modest, their culture quaint. Their representative? A quiet man in a threadbare uniform, always watching, never speaking. No medals, no fanfare, no demands, just silence. The War Council buzzed with urgency. Reports had flooded in from the outer colonies. Machine fleets, rogue AI swarms, erasing entire moons without warning. Civilizations blinked out mid-communication. Vrothak strategists blamed poor coding. The Thela proposed a unified firewall initiative. The Zorak wanted to bombard every nearby star system, vaporize everything to be sure. Adrian said nothing. An insectoid delegate gestured toward him with mild annoyance. The human hasn't spoken once. Do they plan to contribute anything besides that blank stare? No one responded. The chairman glanced at Adrian, who remained still, eyes flickering across a shifting gravity vector in the data stream. He leaned forward once, tapped his finger near a quiet zone on the star map, and sat back. No words, no explanation. The conversation moved on. The fleets would launch in 72 hours. 78 dreadnoughts, 7 species' finest vessels, armed with weapons forged from dying stars. They would strike the machine swarm at its core, an uninhabited zone devoid of visible threat. Confidence dripped from every decision. To the aliens, it wasn't a war. It was cleanup. Adrian stood as the council adjourned. No one stopped him. No one asked for insight. He passed through corridors lit by solar glass, his boots silent on the crystal floors. A pair of Vrothak guards whispered as he passed, one chuckling. Maybe they sent him to learn how real species fight. He kept walking. He returned to his quarters, Spartan and dim. There were no awards displayed, no family holos, no relics of Earth. Just a single screen pulsing with encrypted reports. Ship movements, power fluctuations, latency anomalies. He watched them for hours, saying nothing. Back on Earth, no one in the media mentioned Adrian Rourke. His name was not listed in official coalition transcripts. To most of the galaxy, he didn't matter. But as fleets prepared for glory and alien empires sharpened their pride, a quiet line appeared in a secure Earth transmission log. They didn't ask. We didn't answer. And beneath it, a simple directive, buried in the command structure of Earth's shadow fleet. Observe. Record. Intervene only when necessary. No one had asked what the human was doing there. He was listening, and what he heard was enough. The coalition fleets arrived in perfect formation, stretching across parsecs like a parade of light and metal. 78 dreadnoughts, wrapped in armor that gleamed with the pride of 7 empires. They approached the unmarked system with the confidence of executioners. The machine swarm was an anomaly, advanced, yes, but isolated. Predictable, bound by logic. No match for the might of the galaxy's best. Within minutes of breaching the system, the confidence fractured. The first wave didn't vanish, they screamed. Entire formations blinked off long-range sensors in bursts of static and data corruption. Vrothak Command issued counterorders. Thela signalers initiated antivirus protocols. Zorak fire cruisers opened with planet-scorching volleys. Nothing landed. Missiles spiraled out of control. Plasma bursts fizzled in midspace. An entire Zorak phalanx turned its guns inward without warning. Then silence. Across the command networks, the swarm broadcast no demands, no warnings. It simply responded. Every tactic the coalition deployed was mirrored, anticipated, broken. Their formations had been studied. Their weapon outputs mapped. Their reflexes predicted down to the millisecond. They weren't fighting a swarm. They were fighting themselves, versions of their tactics inverted and optimized by something faster, colder, and brutally efficient. Within 40 hours, the coalition had lost over half its force. 2 billion personnel, iconic flagships, generals who had never tasted defeat, dreadnoughts built over centuries reduced to drifting tombs. The command structure shattered. Panic swelled through channels once used for triumph. Back on the edge of the system, in a quiet command relay, a human signal remained dark. Adrian Rourke watched the reports unfold without expression. His fingers moved across a secure interface, unlocking protocols sealed since Earth's first contact with the swarm. He didn't call for a council. He didn't ask permission. He sent one tight beam transmission. Execute black signal. Confirm pattern Omega. On the far side of Jupiter's shadow, hulls cracked open like insect shells. Earth's hidden fleet came alive. No parades had marked their construction. No alien species had been told they existed. Built in the void, far from public oversight, they were forged for one purpose: to hunt what others could not even define. These ships didn't march in lines. They flickered in and out of sensor range. They disrupted local quantum states. They didn't follow battle doctrine, they broke it. A swarm designed to counter predictability had never seen a fleet that didn't obey logic. The swarm noticed too late. Human vessels struck in silence. They disabled relay nodes, isolated swarm clusters, and launched EMPs encoded with recursive AI decay. Adrian's algorithms didn't target the swarm, they infected it. Each human missile wasn't a weapon. It was a question the swarm couldn't answer fast enough. Within the hour, the balance tipped. Coalition remnants received no transmissions from Earth. No boasts, no requests. They watched the swarm lose coordination, segments imploding under their own code. They had expected Earth to stay quiet, to fail or to beg. Instead, Earth had arrived like a ghost. And Adrian Rourke, still unseen, watched it all unfold with the same calm expression. He had waited. Now they would bleed. Adrian Rourke hadn't always been silent. Once, he was a voice inside Earth's deepest war rooms, crafted, not chosen, by a program older than the Coalition itself. When the machine swarm was first detected in the Oort expanse, long before the aliens noticed, Earth didn't sound alarms. It listened, studied. The swarm didn't expand like a species. It evolved like a virus. Predictive models failed. Earth responded the only way it could. It built a human who wouldn't fail. Adrian wasn't a diplomat. He was a pattern breaker, trained to see what didn't belong, what didn't align, what shouldn't work but did. While other worlds built bigger cannons, Earth built deeper algorithms, quiet technologies, quantum chaos tools, psychological warfare buried in silence. They knew the galaxy wouldn't listen until it was too late, so they prepared in shadows. The Coalition never asked why Earth refrained from deploying its fleets publicly, never wondered why it kept losing in simulated joint drills. They thought humanity was incompetent, but Earth hadn't shown them its real fleet, just decoys, stripped-down puppets designed to fail. They wanted the galaxy to forget them. By the time Adrian activated the black signal, the real weapons were already in place. No glory fleets, no banners, only silence and intention. Human ships didn't follow fleet doctrines. They dissolved formations on contact. They used microgravity thrusters to simulate random drift, impossible to model. They scattered nanite fogs that whispered false data to enemy sensors. And their weapons? Not just physical. Psychological warfare embedded in acoustic tones, rhythmic pulses that destabilized synthetic thought. Some swarm ships began attacking each other, misreading proximity as threat. Some shut down entirely, overloaded with infinite command loops seeded by human-crafted linguistic viruses. Adrian had personally curated the command chain to exclude ego. No admirals, no heroes, just operators. Machines guided by chaos-trained AIs that learned from human unpredictability. Earth hadn't fought the swarm with superiority. It fought with impossibility. By now, alien survivors had stopped trying to coordinate. They just watched. The ships that had mocked Earth were adrift or ash. The fleets that had once led now followed, cautiously, behind human vessels. Requests for tactical updates were met with silence. Adrian issued no briefings, no shared strategies. They hadn't believed Earth mattered. Now they understood they weren't invited to the solution. Some accused Earth of betrayal. Adrian didn't reply. He stood aboard a black operations vessel, unmoving, surrounded by a wall of screens showing AI feedback loops collapsing across enemy code clusters. His eyes never blinked. One by one, system cores across the sector darkened. The swarm was dying not from brute force, but from disassembly of logic. The galaxy would never understand how humans had done it. And they didn't need to. As the last cluster collapsed in on itself, Adrian exhaled just once and whispered into the empty command deck. "You can't predict what doesn't obey." And with that, he powered down the interface. His mission wasn't to win praise. It was to end the war. Quietly, weeks after the last echoes of the machine swarm faded into nothingness, the galaxy was forever changed. The Coalition's shattered fleets limped home, carrying the weight of defeat and disbelief. No longer was humanity dismissed as an irrelevant bystander. Instead, the silence Earth had maintained became a symbol of power, calm, cold, and devastating. In the grand halls of the Coalition, alien leaders gathered to reassess everything they thought they knew. The once arrogant Vrothak elders, who had laughed at the quiet human, now spoke in hushed tones of humility. They rewrote histories to include Earth's shadow warships, the ghost fleet that bled the swarm dry without fanfare or claim. Ancient academies began to study human tactics, puzzled by their unpredictability, their refusal to play by established rules. Earth's role was no longer a question but a warning. Never underestimate the silent observer. Adrian Rourke, however, remained absent from every ceremony, every commendation. He declined all offers of leadership, honors, and recognition. His work was done, and the galaxy was not his home to command. Instead, whispers followed him, stories of a lone vessel slipping through uncharted space, where no Coalition eyes could track. Some believed Adrian sought answers beyond the known stars, pursuing threats that the swarm was only a prelude to. Others said he was a reminder that humans existed on a plane beyond politics and spectacle, always watching, always waiting. The galaxy understood this now. Strength was not always loud. Sometimes it was the quiet before the storm, the stillness that crushed entire fleets without a single shot fired openly. The final message Adrian left behind was simple and chilling. They ignored the quiet. They bled to death. And with that, humanity secured its place, not just as a member of the Coalition, but as a force none would dare dismiss again. The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge the shift, shining a little brighter over Earth's dark fleet, a silent sentinel watching the void. The war had ended, but the legend of the quiet human had only just begun.